Welcome back to another episode of the Third Bro Podcast. In this episode, we have Jennie Thuy. She is a runner that didn't know she was a runner until much later in life, and now she's qualified for the Boston Marathon. Like all journeys, there's ups and downs, and we'll learn all about this in this podcast. Don't forget to sign up for our races, the Big Pumpkin Run and the Nature's Labor Day 5K. Enjoy the podcast. Hey guys, this is another episode of the Third Bro Podcast, and as we say, anyone can be our third bros. And for today's podcast, we have Jennie Thuy, and excited to have her. She has had the remarkable feat of going from a 5-hour plus marathoner to a Boston qualifier, and it was in a pretty quick turnaround time, or short time. And not only that, she has been dealing with diabetes and anemia, and she was able to do all that. And I didn't even know about these other kind of previous health conditions, but that's an amazing feat. Not just qualifying for Boston, but to have these certain things that she has to deal with.
So my name is Jennie Thuy. I graduated from Port Neches Groves High School back in 1997. My classmate calls me Thuy. When I started working in the IT corporate life, I went by Jennie.
You know, as Asians, and me and Jeremy didn't really have that thing where, we have a
names,
American name.
Yeah.
'Cause my parents were when we were younger, my parents didn't really want us to learn Tagalog because they didn't want us. When they did try it a little bit when we were younger, but they saw us struggling.
Yes.
They didn't want us to struggle in school. And
so did you have that?
As the same, right?
So do you have two different names, or you?
No, we just have one
Okay.
name.
But at home, are you called differently?
I'm actually named Jimmy for some reason, which is I have no idea why. My name is Jimmy. Everybody in my family calls me Jimmy. Billy would call me Jimmy, but everybody
Sometimes, yeah.
calls me Jeremy. Sometimes.
Okay, that's
my relatives.
confusing.
It's very weird.
Yeah,
and
but
I actually don't understand.
So the household calls me differently. My sibling call me differently, and then when I go to work, it's different. And then when my high school calls me different, I'm like, okay.
So at your friends call you Thuy?
My friends in high school and growing up call me Thuy.
Mm-hmm.
When I started work, it was like, okay, what is Thuy? Can't pronounce it. Okay, call me Jennie. And so from when I graduated from college onward, it was Jennie.
So where did you come up with the name Jennie?
My best friend, who's no longer here, thought that it was a cute name and just called me Jennie, and I stuck with it since college. And then so when I got my citizenship, so I did get my citizenship during high school and changed it then. So it is my official name, but I kept my Vietnamese name Thuy as my middle name. So whoever wants to call me whatever, I'll acknowledge it.
Yeah, we actually have a long history with Jennie. My sister, she had her debut, which is for Filipinos. They have
Your
it's
sister?
called debut. Yeah, my sister.
Yes, I was there.
And they were there. I remember.
I was there.
I didn't,
wow.
Because there wasn't too many of her friends that were there, and it was I remember you guys were there.
Yep, we were there.
And you've been together with your husband for a long. How many years is that so far?
So we dated in high school. We're high school sweethearts. I haven't dated anyone else. I don't know for him. He said I'm his first, but who knows? But he was from Thomas Jefferson High School. Now it's no longer a high school. I think it's Memorial. Then I went to P&G, and we grew up separate. We grew up in Southeast Texas, went to separate school, met in high school, did long distance relationship in college. He went to UT, I stayed at U of H, and somehow made it happen. And then he went to med school far away.
Yeah.
And we moved back here to Southeast Texas because he likes small town.
Wow. Yeah.
He doesn't like the hustle and bustle of the big city. He doesn't like the big life. He likes home comfort, small town hospitality, like here in Southeast Texas. So that's why we're back here.
That's a long journey. I mean,
it's a long
you guys made it through. A lot of couples don't. I know. I've had some long distance relationships, and they didn't last.
Yeah.
But you guys made it through.
Medical school.
Yeah, I don't recommend it. I don't recommend it. Lucky we got married before he went to med school.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I don't think I can survive med school being sick, not married.
Yeah.
But we had kids while we were traveling. We lived in Seattle 3 years because his med school was, he graduated from Arizona med school, but he had clinical in Seattle. So I had to transfer my work from Houston office to Seattle for 3 years, and then had 2 kids up there. away from home, got homesick. A lot of things happened, and came back here. He did his residency in Houston, so stayed with his family for 2 years, and then say, hey, we're going back to Port Arthur. And I'm like, I've been to all these big cities. I'm so used to the city life. My family, my siblings are in Tomball, Houston area.
Yeah.
He has 5 siblings that are in the Houston area, but he chose to come back to here. His parents are here. His older brother and his older sister are here. And he just chose it. He likes the people. He wants to take care of the people that he grew up with.
Yeah.
And that's his enjoyment. And then fishing. He loves fishing.
Yeah.
And the running thing is just new. So that's all new to us. And that's what I want to expand on here. I met a lot of great people through running, and I appreciate the run community.
Yeah, kind of going into that, like, how did you get into running? Like, what was the thing that made you decide, hey, I'm going to go run?
So, like I was telling you, I was so busy with life, following him to med school, wherever he went, had kids. I lived with my in-laws for about 2-3 years. We came back here to Southeast Texas. My family was there. I was always thinking of other people. My husband, support him. My kids, support them. My family in Tomball, support them. I never had me first. So after the 4th child, I went through postpartum. I was bed rest with him for 6 months. So basically, I went through a very hard pregnancy, my 4th one, where they thought that I had lost him. So 3 months into the pregnancy, I was rushed to the ER. I thought I lost him. So it was a very emotional time for me and my husband. So they told me I have to be bed rest the rest of my pregnancy. So I was bed rest. I had to hire somebody to help me at home to cook for my kids, clean and all that stuff, because I couldn't do anything heavy. Either way, my water broke early, too early. He was 2 months early. So I had to deliver him premature. So my 4th child was 2 months premature. He was in NIC ICU for 5 weeks. He couldn't breathe on his own.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's
So he was also in Houston. My 3 other kids are here. So every day I would drive to Houston, be with my 4th child, Travis, and then come back home to make sure my other kids are okay. And then while my husband is working full time at
that's a
the
lot,
first
man.
responder care. Yeah, so it was just very, you can tell, emotional. I was drained.
Yeah.
I couldn't sleep. And that went on. So he got discharged after 5 weeks, but he had to have a apnea monitor on him. So I had to have a monitor on him to detect when he's not breathing. So especially when he's sleeping, he forgets to breathe. So that went on for another 9 months. So basically, his first year of life was very hard on the whole family, especially myself and him. So when he slept, I didn't sleep. When he was awake, I still didn't sleep. So I didn't sleep much because I am his caregiver. So that was 1 year of tough times. And then his 2nd year, he got better. Things at home got better, stabilized. And that's when I needed to find an outlet for myself. So I reached out to my sister-in-law who has a treadmill. And I asked her about treadmill. Hey, I need something to do. You started running. What is a good treadmill? So she gave me some advice, but she did the best gift. She gave me her treadmill. So she started my journey to running, and that's my sister-in-law, Sandra. So I give her the credit for getting me on that, because you ask questions doesn't mean that you take the action, right?
Yeah.
She actually gave me a treadmill to make sure that I used it and not just talk.
Yeah.
Do it.
She really
I
helped
gave
you
it to
out.
you,
Yeah.
so now you feel like you need to do something. So we put that in our garage, and that's how I would start. And
So you were a treadmill runner at the beginning?
from the beginning,
Strictly treadmill?
because I was still
Taking care of
watching my
kids.
child at
Yeah.
home after school, and Travis was just a very special child that I needed to spend more attention to. So whenever he sleeps, that's when I would go out and try this treadmill thing. So I was always a treadmill runner, and I know everybody kind of frowns on treadmill. Oh, that's your last resort. Oh, only when it's raining.
Yeah,
oh,
that's
when
true,
it's
that's
hot. Oh,
They
the
call it
treadmill.
the treadmill,
The
yeah,
treadmill,
exactly,
right.
yeah.
For me, it was my happy place.
Yeah.
It was just my happy place. I got my self-care from the treadmill,
yeah.
and I developed a relationship with the treadmill.
So would you put headphones on, or
So
you
at
still had to
first-
have your ears open for your kids?
We had the monitor. I was like, what did I do? So I had the video monitor on him. When he's awake, then that's when I would stop. And then once I was able to run with somebody in the family, in the house, then I would just do headphones. And then now I do K-drama, Netflix series.
That's what I always say
I
should
catch
do
up
that.
on, and I would just run for hours watching.
Wow.
And people don't believe me. And I'm like, that's what
Yeah.
I do because it's
So
my...
even in the beginning, you were running for hours?
No. At
Like
the
how was it
beginning,
like in the beginning? Like
at the beginning, I couldn't even do half a mile.
yeah, wow.
No. I was sweating, and it was actually very difficult for me to start running because I had diabetes.
Yeah.
I started running to get my head, my mental health straight. I needed some self-care. I needed some me time away from my kids, away from working multiple caps, things like that. And at that time, I was still working for Accenture. So my background is IT software developer. I did that for a couple years, and then I became a test manager, and then I became an execution manager, and then I became a IT project manager, and I was traveling to places. So I was still working, and they allowed me to work from home because of my situation. Either that or I would have resigned. So I was still working from home. I was stressed. I was majorly stressed. And then my husband here is working full-time, 12 hours a day, 7-day shift for the first 3 years of his clinic opening. He was the only doctor, only physician, only worker 7 days straight.
Yeah,
Our family didn't take vacation.
tough,
Our
yeah.
family didn't do anything. And then imagine me at home going through
Everything you went through.
everything I went through with my fourth child, Travis. He did the best he can, but of course he had to provide.
Yeah.
And I don't know why I was still working, but I was still working. I couldn't quit. Oh, medical benefits.
Yeah.
Okay.
I had to work for the medical benefits. If not, I don't know how we would have gotten through because he is a small business. He's considered small business and can't get medical through him. Now we do, but back then that wasn't the case. So when I started running, it was 7 miles per hour. I was walking. I was not running.
What's like 7 mile per hour and like minute mile?
It's like
15, 16.
Yeah.
Oh,
I
wow,
was,
okay.
So
okay.
the definition, okay?
Yeah.
I was walking.
Okay.
Walking and jogging. So my definition back then,
And what year was this?
2018.
2018.
Oh, so that's pretty recent. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's when I started
she's new to
running.
She's pretty new to running.
And then I took off 2 years because of the pandemic. I didn't run. So
But did you have any like athletic background?
high school I did, from high school, but not from college or since
What'd
I
you
had
do in high
kids.
school?
I did the typical athletics program. So volleyball, basketball, and track.
Okay, so you were pretty
Yeah, that's-
like your kids now. Your kids are
Yes,
pretty
so I
active.
did pretty much what they did, but only in high school. So you think about high school
Yeah.
until now, that's like 20 years.
That's true.
That's
At
20
least you
years,
did
and then I
that.
went through 4 kids.
Yeah,
Your
yeah.
body changes.
Yeah.
I was not athletic.
That doesn't sound like
20
that's
years.
athletic, yeah.
But I guess my genes, or I had the determination. But basically, so when I started off, it wasn't like that. It wasn't great. It was for mental health.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't say it was for fitness or.
Also to help your diabetes or.
My diabetes, it did help me, but it also made it really messy because I didn't know how to deal with it. So when I run,
Yeah.
and another thing why I'm on the treadmill is when I run in the heat and humidity, it spikes up my sugar. It spikes up my glucose because I guess my body doesn't have enough water to balance out the glucose in it. And I don't know what the word for it is. Basically, I'm dehydrated. And sugar is elevated each time. So whenever I run in the heat, now, basically my glucose shoots up to like 300-400. And I don't know, you guys understand diabetes and the numbers, but that is a critical number. You don't want your glucose to go any higher than 300, even 200 on a normal basis. So it would peak up so high, so my husband did not want me to run. So he wasn't being selfish, but back in 2018, he was like, you're too high risk. You cannot run
Yeah.
and get your blood sugar
Yeah.
up to the 400 and then back down to 100.
Especially
and then,
with your husband being a doctor, he knows everything.
right.
So,
So he
super careful with
he
you.
was not supportive of me running, much less when I signed up for the Houston Marathon.
Yeah.
And I did that because I was hard-headed, and I was like, no, I want to do something for myself, and I want to push myself. So you guys know when you sign up for something, that's when you
Yeah,
kind of
train.
commit, and then you train. So I bought 2 marathon books back in 2017. I bought the books, I read the books, never signed up. 2018, his siblings, which is my sister-in-law, made a pact to run and train for
It
the
was
Houston
a
Marathon.
large group of y'all.
It was a large group,
Yeah.
so that was my chance to jump on the wagon, and it was my push. I always wanted to run it, but I just didn't have anyone to give me that support, that shove, until my sister-in-law did it. Signed up, and they signed up by accident. There's a background
How
story
do you
to
sign
that.
up by accident? That doesn't make sense to me.
I know.
Marathon. Accident.
Okay, so the story with that is my in-laws, my side family was not into fitness. My in-law side is not into fitness either. It was my in-laws' in-laws. So my sister-in-law's husband, there's this brother-in-law named Johnny and Hung. They signed up for Houston Marathon in 2012. Was their first marathon. So we always looked up to them as in, wow, you guys are doing an amazing thing. That is just crazy. I'm not ever doing that. That was 2012. 2013, they kept it going every year. They were going for legacy.
Oh, wow, yeah.
2017, our sister-in-law, which is the wife of one of the brother-in-laws, did a race, sent us a picture after she did the race, and we thought it was the marathon. We thought, oh my God, you just did a marathon? Did you train? Wow, if she can do a marathon, we can too. So we all signed up for the full marathon. And then she's like, guys, I did the half marathon.
Yeah.
I didn't do the full marathon.
So it fooled everybody, yeah.
Right, so it was by accident, meaning if we knew she did the half marathon, we would have signed up for the half marathon.
Did you guys do a half marathon before?
No.
Oh man, you just went straight to the full?
Well, so marathon's in January, right? We signed up January, February, around March time we signed up. So that gave us almost a year to train. So we're like, okay, fine. We signed up by accident, a marathon. We'll just train for it. And by train, I book trained. They trained by word of mouth, consulting with their husband. Self-trained. It was just considered self-trained because we didn't know anything. And I was like, okay, I'm running on the treadmill. I should be fine.
Did you run a 5K, 10K races,
No.
anything? No.
What?
So this is your first race
First-
ever.
Wow.
Well,
So-
yes, yeah. First, I signed up for the marathon, but during the course of training for the marathon,
signed
I
up for
did.
more races. Yeah,
yes,
that's good.
The Houston
so I
Warm-Up
did.
Series, basically.
Yes,
Yeah, yeah.
yes. So I did get people's advice, and by people, there is a local run club. So I did meet. Recently, I physically met with Mid-County Run Club.
Yeah.
Physically.
Yeah.
Back in 2018, I could not physically meet up with the group because I have 4 kids at home. I have the youngest one I still had to tend to. I had to make sure everybody was taken care of before I even do this. And then my husband was not supportive. So I did this kind of on the down low, any kind of training that I did, make sure that it did not interfere with taking care of the kids. When my husband was home, I was not on the treadmill. I was trying to secretly train. He knew, but he wasn't supportive because of my diabetes.
Did you know, like, did you like research, like, because I'm not too familiar with like diabetic athletes. I'm sure like a 5K is
are-
probably reasonable, but to go the marathon distance, you're putting like
A
even
lot of
us,
stress.
a lot of stress.
A
even
lot
for
of
regular
stress.
people, that's a lot of stress. It's a
It's
very
a
hard
lot of
distance.
stress, and
So-
I had a lot of lessons learned, and I've nailed it down last year. But it took a while, and so that's why I didn't think I was a runner.
So what's the difference for like let's say for a diabetic athlete who's doing marathons versus like us? Because we take our GU and other things. Is there
So
other extra
I-
stuff that you had to do during the race?
Well,
as a
he
diabetic athlete?
recommended that I bring my monitor with me and test halfway through the race and bring my insulin with me. And I'm like, I'm not doing that. I'm not going to have a whole pouch to have my, I'm not going to stop and then test my blood.
Yeah.
And then if it's high, give it. But then he said, you have no choice. If you're going to continue running, you have to bring it.
Yeah.
This is a medical
Yeah.
Necessity.
necessity for you. He did not let me. So okay, fine, I'll bring it with me. But I didn't. I didn't test until after the race.
Okay.
But anyway, so I did sign up for some local 5Ks, 10Ks. So our first 5K was Mid-County Madness. I think that's when the Nederland High School and the P&G High School seniors had some
For a
kind
part
of
of
benefit.
celebration.
Yeah, as a part of benefiting.
You're trying to bring that race back, actually.
Yeah. That was our first 5K, and it was horrible. I was like, why did I do that? Why? And then I was thinking, oh my gosh, this is 3 miles. What did I do to myself for the
Do you remember
marathon?
your time?
My
Sorry.
time was probably like 15, 16 minute mile. I walked. I ran the best I can, and then I walked, slow walk, thinking to myself, what did I do?
Yeah.
It wasn't great.
Yeah, but you finished, and then.
I finished with my head
but
down.
then you still wanted to run after that.
Yeah,
even though
that's
you're
amazing.
your first
You're
run.
I had to figure out what to do. So that's when I took it more serious. Okay, I needed to really train on the treadmill.
Yeah.
So 5K, 10K. My first half marathon was the Pleasure Island half.
Okay. That's a tough
Pleasure
one,
Island
too.
Bridge.
Yeah.
That was my first, and I met so many people there that I was admiring and inspired, because it's just. So what happened was that I was running, and I'm a one-pace runner. Back then, whatever I trained on the treadmill was my
stuck to
pace
it the whole
on
time.
the race.
Uh-huh.
I thought that's how it was. I did not know about different paces. I didn't know what I didn't know what the 5K pace, 10K pace.
Yeah.
I was like, what is all that? Yes. Anyway, so I'm running, and then I'm getting passed by, and then this elder man passes by. He's all white hair, everything. He's just probably in his 60s. And I'm like, okay, I'm gonna catch up to him and pass him. I never caught up to him, never passed him. I'm like, he's just so chill, just running, chill, and just so relaxed. And he saw me, he smiled, and I'm here just like, how are you doing this and smiling? And I'm so young. I think I'm younger. I thought I looked
Yeah,
fitter.
that's happened to me too.
Yeah.
And I'm
you can
like,
never tell.
you can't
Other
tell.
runners, their pace or whatever.
So I'm
yeah.
following him, never could catch up, and then I'm falling way behind him, and in my head I'm thinking, I have to learn his way. I have to learn his way. I need to be him at that age, in my 60s, running that healthy.
Yeah. So he really inspired you.
He really inspired me. I didn't know who he was. I didn't know whatever it is, but he inspired me on that race, my first half marathon, and I appreciated it that much. And for that half marathon, besides the books and my in-laws, it was Mid-County Run Club, Teresa
Burrow.
Burrow. I didn't meet her in person, but she was the one behind the keyboards that gave me advice on what to do. I didn't know anything. I'm reading the book, and I'm like, I reached out to her. I was like, I can't meet up at the tracks because I have, commitments at home, but I want to learn. And she helped me with nutrition,
That's nice.
hydration,
Wow.
run, what to do. And basically she just told me, just run, just do it. Don't care about the paces, don't care about this and that. She couldn't give me advice specifically on my diabetes because that's not her background. But she was just so welcoming and just telling me, don't give up. Like, hey, you have the interest, stick to it. You need some kind of nutrition if you're going to run anything like a half marathon. So I learned nutrition from her. I had to take some gel, hydration, drink everything along the route. So she really helped me. I met up at the tracks one time, and that was it. And I was just happy that there is a local group that is willing to help, even though you can't physically be there, even though you can't help the group in any kind of way.
Yeah.
It was very nice.
Yeah. We love Mid-County Run Club. I remember when me and my brother started Gold Triangle Sweaters, we would kind of it was good because we had a little bit, not necessarily, it was kind of like a friendly competition kind of thing.
Yes.
So it was just nice to
nice.
see. We wanted them to grow, and then they were supportive of us too.
I even went to GTS group one time. I was that desperate, and I took all my kids. I couldn't go by myself. I remember taking all my kids. It was a Halloween theme. And I went to you guys, GTS. You guys had it at some kind of pizzeria.
I remember you went to Rotolo's.
Yeah,
kids
so
were dressed up and everything. Yeah.
And I wanted to be a part of a group so bad. I brought all my kids, and they were so rowdy and everything. I'm like, I can't do this. I can't do no. I
We
couldn't.
need more families.
No, but it was just. But it was great to see, oh my gosh, there are people here. There are people running, and they all support each other, and they all have fun, and that's what I wanted. So I wanted it so bad, but I couldn't.
But then you did your first half marathon in November, right? Because that's,
It was like October.
October, okay.
Yeah.
And then did you do the 25K?
And then I did do the 25K, and I did do the 30K.
Oh, you did the.
Yeah, so I did the
So a good
warm-up.
progression to the marathon.
I
for
did.
Sure.
Teresa's the one that sent me the link to the Houston warm-up series. So I took her suggestion. I even did the 10K, the 10 miler at the Space City, and we saw her there. So that at that time, nope, I take that all back. I did not do the running series because my husband was not supportive. So in 2018, I did not do it. I did that 2019 when he was training.
Oh, the next time.
I take that all back. Oh my gosh. So 2018, when I was training, the only half marathon races that I did was the 5K, the Mid-County Madness between Nederland and P&G. I did that 5K, and the Pleasure Island Bridge, half. And that was it.
And then the marathon.
In the marathon, because I don't want to say he wasn't supportive. He did not.
He was worried about your health.
He was very worried about my health.
Yeah.
So I had to do all this in the down low.
Yeah.
So when I did my and then something happened to me, and I was in the ER on January 1st.
Oh wow!
New
Before
Year's
the marathon.
Day, before the marathon.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
Something happened. I got hit by some kind of virus, and it attacked my muscles. So everyone thought that maybe I was overtraining and my muscle gave out or something like that. It felt like that, but I was not overtraining. I wasn't.
You didn't do too many.
No,
crazy
my
races,
mileage was like 11 and a half minute pace was my pace. 11 minute and a half to 12. That was my pace. I wasn't like, I don't think I was overtraining. Anyway, I got hit by something. I was in the ER for a whole day. I had to recover 2 weeks. And then he made me downgrade to the half and told me to walk the half. I was devastated because this is like with my siblings. This is with my in-laws. We made a pact. I want to be a part of those 10 people from my in-law side to run. I don't want to do a half. I'll be the only one. So I was very hard-headed. I didn't tell him. So he.
Oh, you never dropped down. You just did it.
I just did it. So I told him that I will do the half.
Oh my goodness.
So I'm gonna get in trouble for this, but it's already under the water. He already knows.
Okay.
So he was on kids duty. He had 4 kids. It was very cold that 2019 Chevron. I'm sure you guys were there. I just feel like you guys were there.
I was there. have done the race multiple
Every
times.
year, right?
Pretty much every year, yeah.
Well, that was my first. It was 2019, January. So I basically had 1 week. I was out for 2 weeks, and then 1 week before the race, and I shouldn't have even ran it. So what happened was, I ran it, and then you pass the 7-mile marker. That's when you're supposed to turn around. I'm like, I'm feeling good. I'm feeling good. I'm running 11:30. I'm feeling good with my sister-in-laws, and I passed 7 miles. 11 miles, I cramped up. And in my head, so I'm like, okay, sister-in-law, go ahead. I cramped. I need to figure things out. In my head, it didn't make sense to go back and do 11 miles to finish the half. So I just went forward on cramp, running by myself, mentally trying to figure out why did I do this to myself. I should have listened to my husband. I should have not ran the race. I should have do the half. So I found encouragement just from the crowd. So Houston Marathon is great for that.
For sure.
Even though mentally I'm dead, the crowd was just clapping, cheering. They don't know my story. They're just like, "Hey, girl, go!" And
Do you have your name on your bib too?
They called, whatever it is, they called it out, whatever it was. But I needed the energy. So whatever poster I saw, I would tap it to get more power. I would give them high fives and things like that. So that kind of got me through it. So I finished the marathon and I balled out, but I finished right under 6 hours. It was 5 hours and 48 minutes.
Yeah, that's good still.
Yes, so I still had a cushion, I guess, under six hours. But mentally, I was dead.
I bet.
I was dead. So when I crossed that line, I knew I was dead also from my husband because he was expecting me
way earlier.
3 hours ago. And he has all these kids. And all my in-laws was waiting for me. I was the last one in. I was the last one in.
They were all there to see you?
They all finished. I was probably number 8. I was number 8. So my sister-in-law and a brother-in-law was still behind. They finished. They did not get the 6 hours, but they did cross the run and get their medal.
Yeah.
So,
I've been there.
And they are old. They're like 50. So my brother-in-law, first marathon, he was 50. He still crossed it. So we're all celebrating everybody.
Yeah, that's
No,
awesome.
but that's still good. Like, especially for me, the toughest part of the race, even though you're not in the front of the pack, but like that mental kind of thing when you're trying to beat the cutoff, because you probably knew you had a 6-hour time limit, right?
I did.
So it kind of plays into like mentally, because like you don't want to.
You don't want to walk.
Miss it.
You want to keep
wanna
on
keep
trying
moving
to.
forward.
Yeah, I wanted to count. I
Adds
wanted
another
my
stress
first
to it.
marathon to count.
Yeah.
And then right when I crossed the finish line, my Apple Watch died. So it didn't record the race at all. So that was a bummer. So that's when I switched to Garmin or to a real.
So after that first race, were you like,
I'm never gonna.
were you like, do I need to get to training? Do I need to
I
go harder? Or when did you decide to start training to get faster? Because from your first marathon to your second marathon, big difference.
Big difference. So now that was 2019, right?
Yeah.
So remember how I told you, okay, that was my learning period for having to deal with my diabetes. So 2019, that was my first race. After 2019, that's when my husband started training.
Yeah.
So I thought I was in better position than him because he just started training, but I couldn't breathe. I couldn't figure out why I had such a hard time breathing. So 2019 was, I think, when I was am anemic and didn't know it. After we did some lab work, that's what it confirmed. But I did not enjoy running, so I did not enjoy running 2019. I ran to support him because he was all hyped up after his siblings did that. And
It was just
everything.
tough for you to go out there and run because you were tired all the time.
And then it was
huh?
summer training again, so I kind of gave up.
Yeah.
I kind of mentally gave up my diabetes. I couldn't breathe. What is wrong with me? And then I still have mommy duties at home, so I just kind of shuffled it. Okay, run. Okay, great. Not run. Okay, I don't care. Like it was not my priority. I didn't have the passion anymore. So no, I was discouraged.
So this is the time when you kind of stopped running, and then your husband started really starting to start training and loving running himself.
So it was like
You switched,
We
right?
switched. Well, yes. And he, after I guess that year,
But he was inspired by you, right?
he was inspired by me. And then internally, I couldn't figure out what was wrong with me. So
Yeah.
that's why I wanted to speak of this as well, because I gave up. I gave up running after my first marathon. I was like, something's wrong with me. I'm not good at this. It's not meant to be. I don't enjoy it. I can't breathe. So that was 2019. I was signed up for the full marathon to run with him. I hated it so much, I downgraded to the half. I go, okay, I'll be there for you. Of course, with the kids for your first marathon, I'll do the half. And then my excuse to him, I didn't tell him. And I don't know why I did that. He's a medical doctor. I don't know why I didn't go to him for help. But I just thought maybe I just don't like running enough. I really thought it's not meant for me. So I downgrade. I told him I downgrade so that I can finish first and we can cheer you on when you finish. That was my excuse. So we did that. After his marathon, he was still hyped. He signed up for the next race and blah, blah, blah. And I was like, I'm not doing any more races. And he couldn't figure out why I didn't like running anymore. So I do the annual labs for my diabetes. Actually, I go do labs every 3 months for my diabetes. But he saw this change in me, so he did a fully workup lab and added additional labs to check everything. And came back and saw low counts. I was very borderline anemia to the point where I needed blood transfusion.
Yeah, that's serious.
So he got on top of it. He gave me some medicines to help get me out of that critical stage of getting transfusion or having to rush me to the hospital. So he kind of monitored me, and he told me this is the reason why you can't breathe. Your iron is super low. You're anemic. You need blood transfusion. If you don't turn around, it's not just running you can't do. You can't do your day-to-day life without feeling stressed. And I was feeling very stressed. And I always thought, okay, it's just a mommy thing.
Yeah.
I have 4 kids. Every mom gets the natural stress of things. So you can feel how mental exhausted I was.
Yeah.
So that was so he ran his race in 2020 was his first race. And the pandemic came in March, right?
Yeah.
So I've just figured out what was my issue, anemic. So when the pandemic hit, I didn't care about running, and he couldn't run. So everything just dropped down because he was at the clinic 24/7. I'm talking about day and night. The pandemic was that's it.
You guys are
so
busy.
we took 2020, after he ran his first marathon, he also went to LA, ran that marathon, and then that next weekend, the
LA
nation
Marathon
shut
was
down.
the last one.
Yes.
Pretty much.
And it shut, you see how gung-ho he was? He signed up for the LA Marathon right after Chevron.
Yeah, that's amazing.
That was January, February, March, 2 months.
He must really. What was his time? Do you remember?
He did 4:04 at Chevron.
Man,
So he
for
did
first?
first marathon 4:04, and again he was self-trained. He didn't even read books. He did YouTube, so he looked up YouTube, whatever it is, but
That's still
self-trained 4:04. That's why he discouraged me, because he was fast, and I was like, all right, I'm not gonna keep up
So
with you.
okay, so you kind of took care. You found out. Was it after you kind of like knew like your diagnosis of anemia? Was that like the kind of turnaround where, hey, now you're running better, or what
No,
made you
I
like
didn't-
start running like better?
After the pandemic.
After the pandemic, just last year. So that's why I'm saying, so basically the pandemic was 2020.
Yeah.
He ran his races, and then both of us just dropped out of running. We didn't run 2020, the rest of 2020. We didn't run 2021 until live races came back up. So live races came back up, I think it was October. The Houston half was the first one.
Okay.
So that's when we started running again. So October 2021 was when we started running again. He was still hyped about it because during the pandemic he actually started training for tri. He was interested in doing tri as his way of outlet. He wanted to swim and do all that stuff. So he had his own thing. I was not wanting to run. Instead, my sister Ton, who you helped at her marathon, she will never forget that.
Okay, that's good.
She signed up for the marathon. And I always told her, you sign up, I'll help you train, blah, 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 blah. I wasn't in it. I wasn't running for almost 2 years. I figured out my anemia, it was better, but I didn't have a passion to run. So because my sister signed up and I told her I would run with her was when I started running again. And that time I was better with my anemic and my diabetes, but I guess it was okay. That's when I started trying to find motivation. So I found motivation. So by helping my sister, she helped me get out of the slumps.
Yeah.
And then the more we met people that were running, gave us motivation and inspiration. And I think it was my husband. He started training his tri, doing swimming, biking, running. And he's here opening a new clinic, still doing his tri. And I'm like, okay, I need to get back to running. I need to do at least one of his activities. So I started the treadmill again. So I started to back up, training with my sister. And then she signed up for Houston Half, 25K, and so forth. So I started running with her, but I still didn't find that passion. So what happened was the turning point for me was in 2022. I got my husband a coach for the tri.
Okay.
The reason is because he was self-trained. He self-trained to train, but there was no real plan. There was no structured plan that I'm hearing people are doing, techniques, type of workouts. He was not doing them. I didn't think it was good enough, and I wanted him to succeed on his first try. So a friend of ours from Houston, who also inspired my running journey, who is also a classmate of my husband, Vicky Nguyen and her husband inspired both of us to get into running, and then him specifically into tri. So she told me about her coach that she used, and he's a virtual coach that lives both in Seattle and in Houston. So during the summer, he's in Seattle. During the winter, he's in Houston. So he gets the best of the weathers.
Yeah.
Yeah, so basically I signed up my husband for coaching. And then they asked about myself. And then I told them I'm not a runner. I do run, but I hate saying that. I'm not a runner because anyone that puts in the effort and wants to improve on their health is a runner, no matter your speed, you're walking. But I guess what I wanted to say was I'm not serious. I'm not racing. I'm just running.
Yeah.
But they told me that, hey, invest in yourself, invest in your health. If you need a help or push, either find a group, a motivational group, a run group or something like that, and which I was not in because I didn't have that time.
Yeah.
So they said, find your motivation. So I signed up coaching with them because they talked me into it. I wasn't looking for them, but that's what changed for me.
Okay.
And I'm not saying that everybody needs a coach, but if you want to be serious and at that turning point, especially for me, what I learned from them is terminology. I didn't know running terminology. I didn't know what the paces were. I didn't know marathon pace was different from easy jog, or I didn't know what intervals was. I didn't know terminology. I didn't know that. So they taught me that, and the best thing I got from them is structure training, a training plan. I didn't have a training plan. The training plan that I followed in the books was 2 miles this day, 4 miles that day, long run, 8 mile, easy. It did say easy, medium, hard, but I didn't know what those were. I didn't know what
you didn't know what pace you should go for.
I didn't know what
easy
heart
or-
rate training was. I didn't know what heart rate was.
Yeah.
Medical wise, I was like, okay, your heart rate, okay, you're good, you're bad, but regard to training, to running, is different. So they taught me things that I would have learned would have taken me 2-3 years to learn if I was not serious. But if you are serious, either you find, and I find I'm lucky to have met them, and they're that's Coach John and Coach Arena from Yes, which is Your Energy Studio. They are based in Seattle and in Houston. But I didn't meet up with them in person. It was all virtual. And a lot of coaches are like that.
Yeah. So do you think like you saw the being with a coach dramatic differences in like your runs?
Yes.
Like how soon? Like was it after like 3 months?
So I signed
6
up
months?
with them Christmas Day. I didn't start on a training plan in January. From January to November, I sub 4.
Yeah.
I sub 4. So from signing up with the coach to my first race in June, which is my tunnel's first marathon, was 4:05.
Yeah.
And then from 4:05.
That's an hour and 30
That's almost
minutes.
like 2 hours.
So
close to.
over 2 hours.
Oh,
It was
over 2
five.
hours,
It was
sorry.
5:48 to 4:05.
Yeah, that's crazy.
That's insane.
And
That-
I credit it. Okay, having a coach is great. But what you really need is discipline.
Yeah.
You need my
They give you
advice.
accountability too, because
Yes.
you had somebody to always
Yes.
talk
so
to.
I
about
didn't
your training.
have a run club. I didn't have. I did, but I wasn't meeting up with them.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
I say, if you find your circle that has good experience, people from all levels that don't mind giving you feedback or their experience, especially those that have been to Boston or are serious runners and racers. I want to say running is different from racing.
Yeah.
I didn't know. I learned how to race.
Yeah, there you
Before
go.
I was a
like
runner,
that.
I was a finisher.
Yeah.
I was fine with it. I don't need to know all those speed work. I don't need to know terminologies to run a race. I finish. I'm a
Yeah.
finisher. What they taught me is to race, strategize. Yes. So I was more disciplined on my nutrition, and nutrition is just eating healthy, eating lean.
Yeah.
I wasn't like. I
You
wasn't.
stop eating like coffee juice.
I still drink coffee. I still eat sweets, muffins, and stuff. But you just be mindful to reduce it and be more strict
Yeah.
closer to race day.
Yeah, I can see that.
And that got you to 4:05, and then from 4:05 you went to.
3:49.
That was your. Was that a
That my
BQ?
sub 4. Nope.
Yeah.
That was the BQ.
That was
yeah.
November. So that was only 11 months into coaching. I signed up with them for a year, 12 months. So after 12 months and after 11 months and my goal was finished, I was no longer under coaching. So what from having a coach for 12 months, I signed up. That was the end of it. I felt like I met my goal. I don't need to continue coaching. But I should have if I was very, very serious and I wanted to be cute, I should have stick to coaching. But I didn't because I met my goal. I'm satisfied with sub 4.
Yeah, I'd be satisfied with
I'm
sub 4,
satisfied.
Yeah, but I think that you're not always chasing to be faster.
No. So what happened? I wasn't chasing. What happened was that I kept that group of friends that I made within that 12 months that I met. I met people from Houston. And then I met locally Kendall. Is a fast runner. She also BQ'd at Chevron Marathon this past January. I met a lot of motivational people. That was.
So you don't have a coach anymore.
I don't have a coach
So
anymore. So when I BQ'd, I didn't have a coach.
Oh, wow.
So that's what I wanted also share.
Because you have an interesting like that qualifier. Can you tell me about the shirt, like the significance of it?
Yes, I love this shirt. So basically, I made this shirt for my first 10K that I did when I was training for my first marathon. It's in dedication to my dad who passed away. He was diabetic. So this is a shirt that was supportive of the American Diabetes Association. That race was supporting that cause. And so it was their 10-year anniversary for this race. So I made it a shirt. So in the back it has run, walk, jog for diabetes, something like that. But I'm diabetic and I inherited it from my dad. And so I dedicated that run to him. So I ran the marathon, my last marathon that I ran to Boston qualify. I also wore the shirt because I want him to be with me and kind of give me that motivation, that encouragement if I find myself needing the extra push. And he really did help me a lot because I needed that push early on during the race. So it really means a lot to me. This is the shirt that I will wear whenever I need that extra luck.
Yeah, I remember when I heard you qualify for Boston. We were all, I mean, Jeremy probably been following your journey. I've been following your journey because like, it's not easy to go from what you were barely beat that sub 6, right?
Yeah, barely.
To now you're sub 4 easy now. I mean, in my opinion, but like that near the end of your Boston qualifying, it wasn't, I'm fun, finished the cross line. What happened?
No.
Can you describe that?
So maybe I should go back to the beginning of the race. So the beginning of the race started great. And I should say that I had a pacer. So my husband was my pacer, and he was really good. And if it wasn't for him, I don't think I would have finished the race, much less Boston qualify. I owe it all to him. He was good at the physical push and also the mental push. Yeah. So I must have been dehydrated. This is the only reason why I think I started cramping at mile 8. My toes started cramping at mile 8.
It's early on,
that's
yeah.
too
Early on.
Yeah.
You all know that, right?
Yeah,
so in my head,
early.
I didn't tell my husband, I didn't tell him. I was thinking, why am I starting cramping? It has to be dehydration. And you know, the race is called Tunnels Marathon. It's in Snoqualmie Falls, so it's outside east of Seattle, and it's higher elevation. So the elevation starts up, I think, about 2,600 feet elevation. So we all know, and then traveling, you're supposed to hydrate. You get dehydrated just traveling and traveling on the plane, traveling around new cities, and then just being in high elevation. I knew better. I thought I hydrated myself with plenty of electrolytes, but I think I did not drink enough water throughout. So I made sure I got my electrolytes, but I wasn't sipping water throughout the days going into the race. That's what I think happened. So anyway, so I did cramp on my toes at mile 8. Didn't tell my husband. I'm just keeping it to myself because it's on and off, on and off. By mile 12, my calf.
Oh no.
My right calf cramped. That's when I wanted to cry because it's not even 13 miles yet.
Yeah,
still,
not
that's
even
too
halfway.
early.
And then this is a race. This is a race that I'm trying to attempt BQ. So I tell my husband, I'm sorry. I told him I'm sorry, but I'm cramping. And he didn't even look at me. He's like, okay. And he just didn't look at me. Just continue running. And then he was like, he didn't say anything. And then I kept with him. He saw that I can still run. I took down my pickle juice. So my emergency whenever I cramp is pickle juice. I have salt tabs on me, things like that. So I downed my pickle juice at mile 12, which is way too early. And then he said, "Did you drink all of that?" I go, "Yes." He go, you didn't save any? So he wanted me to kind of save it because it's so early, right? But I drank it all and I was done with it. I was like, save it or not, I'm cramping. I need something to help it. So that was mile 12. I was still able to run, but it was just big discomfort. And mentally, I was done. So in my head, I'm thinking, this is a in and out. No, one way. I'm sorry. It's a point to point. So I was thinking in my head, if I stop now, how am I going to get back to the finish? In my head, I didn't tell him.
It's like your first marathon.
Yes, it's like, how am I going to get back to the finish? What am I going to do now? And I'm ready to tell him, keep on going. I'm going to stop, kind of thing. And then he turned around. He's like, if your legs are not stopping, don't stop. So I listened to him, and I just followed him. And then when we passed by a water station, I would slow down, and the cramp would hurt more. And I told him, my cramp gets worse when I slow down. My cramp, I don't want it to lock up.
Right.
So I'm not stopping. So I didn't stop at the water station. He would stop. If I can grab the water, great. If I can't, I let it go. But lucky for him, he had a water bottle. We were going to toss that water bottle early on. He held onto it. That was my lifesaver. If he didn't have that water bottle for me, I think I would have gotten more dehydrated.
Just a regular plastic
water bottle.
Yeah,
He had it on him to take his gel at the start, and then supposed to toss it. He held on it for some reason. I don't know why. But without that, I wouldn't have.
So you use that for you to.
Yes.
Get
so
water.
he would refill it at the water station and held onto it because I was cramping. So I would drink in between the water stops to help.
Yeah.
So if it wasn't for that,
while not slowing down,
while not slowing down, yeah. So if I can catch it, great. If I can't, then he will get me the water bottle.
Right.
That's good.
And then I took salt tabs every mile. So lucky I packed enough salt tabs with me because I only usually take salt tabs if it's in Houston because of the weather.
So
I'm sweating
we're
more.
all even paced throughout the whole thing, or did you realize you were going to get how far along were you? What mile did you realize BQ was a possibility? You were going for a BQ,
We
right?
were going for a BQ. So we were on target for a BQ. When I started cramping, I figured I would slow down and would lose that pace.
Yeah, that's what I think too.
I was just thinking, so I was not even looking at my watch. He was looking at the watch the whole time.
Yeah.
He was my pacer, so he's my pacer. So when he slowed down, I slowed down. When he fast, I just went with him, and I couldn't tell. So that was mile 12, and then we just kept on going. So what helped me maintain, and this is when I had the realization, I can't believe I can run on cramped legs.
Yeah.
Because before, when I would cramp, like my first marathon, I stopped. I stopped, I stretched it out, I ran slower. I didn't know that you can continue. So my mentality just kind of changed, and I kept running. I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm still running. And then I think the pickle juice, the salt tabs, the water slowly helped because I was able to still run. So up until he got me through the end, mile 26, and then we can see the finish. Well, actually, he got me a negative split the last 3 miles. I don't know how.
Could you feel it? Like, oh man, we're going faster.
I didn't feel it, and I think it's the spectators. So spectators were cheering at the end. Him telling me that, you can do it. So he mentally told me a lot of things.
You weren't looking at your watch, you just
I was looking at my watch. I was focusing on breathing and my cramps.
Okay.
So my cramp eased up, but it was still there. I can feel that it can lock up any minute. Like if I stop, I know it's going to lock up. So I kept at that speed where it's just good enough. And apparently it was a fast speed. So I learned a lot myself. I did not know it's possible. So.
Yeah, I didn't know that's possible either.
It was an eye opener. So anyway, somehow we ran faster at the end at 8-minute mile. I don't know how. I really don't know how. So again, I feel like my dad was really there with me to give me that energy and that strength. And mentally, I was defeated. Mentally, I was already defeated. Anyway, mile 26, here you go, almost near the finish. You got the crowd hyping you up. Go, speed up, go fast, go for it. What is it?
Kick it in.
Kick it in. All out, all out.
Yeah.
So mentally, I'm like, okay, that's my cue. I've been trained for this. It's a race. I've been trained for this. Okay, now you go all out. So I'm here like my body wants to go. My legs would not go any faster. I fell.
Oh, no.
Flat face, down on
Did you lock up or is it?
I didn't lock up yet. So my first fall, it was like 26. It was already past 26. Yeah, you already
You're
see the
close
finish
to the
line.
finish line.
I'm close to the finish line. I fall down. My husband's behind me because he wanted me to go first. I fell down, scraped my knees, scraped my chin,
Yeah.
and I froze. I froze on the ground. My husband came up behind me, picked me up, and pushed me. He go, hey, look, the finish is right there. You need to go.
Yeah.
He pushed me. I was disoriented. I was like, okay, run, 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 run. Right before the finish line, I fell again.
Oh, no.
But this time I tripped on a rock.
Oh, that's a rock.
I tripped on a rock.
Why is it a rock in a race?
This race is on gravel.
Oh, okay.
So that's another thing. There's pros and cons to the course as well. I still recommend it, but it's on packed gravel. Packed gravel.
Okay.
You have to learn about it. Yes. So this time I was disoriented, wasn't landing correctly, and I tripped on the rock and landed and busted my lip. It's still a little bit scarred, but I have makeup on. Anyway, busted my lip, my nose, my hands. Yeah, you can still see it right here.
Yeah.
It was bleeding from the inside. I thought I lost my tooth. It was that bad, and I busted inside, so like I had blisters inside. But anyway, right before the mat, this time I picked myself up because I'm like, dang it,
Yeah,
the
you're so
finish is
close.
right there.
Yeah.
I picked up myself, ran over the mat, and then fell down, collapsed. Fell the
Yeah,
third time
bad.
and collapsed, and both legs locked up.
Oh no.
Yeah.
Locked up. They had to carry me over to medical, and my face was all bleeding.
Yeah, I bet.
It was
Oh,
all
man.
bleeding, but there was no camp. This is a small race. I think there was 700 people signed up, about 500 finisher, 550.
Yeah.
So there's no cameraman everywhere. There's no video, anything.
yeah.
I was lucky to have a picture of the first fall. And I'll send that to you.
Lucky.
Yeah, I want to see that.
Well, I actually wanted to see the second one because that was
The worst one,
That
right?
was the worst one. That one was bleeding and everything. But they cleaned me up. They put ice on my face. Gave me a whole bunch of pickle juice. Did whatever it is, and then my husband comes in and he's like, "I got her. I'm medical." So I had a personal pacer. I had a
Personal
personal
doctor.
doctor. I'm not going anywhere else without him.
Yeah.
I'm not racing any A races without my husband. There were so many things that could have happened that could have went wrong, but I think the end of it, what I want to say is that don't give up.
Yeah.
Mentally, don't give up. If you're physically pushing through, you got to push yourself mentally. And I'm lucky to have my husband, but if he's not there, I do think I would have given up, but I would have missed out on a BQ.
Yeah.
So I've learned a lot
Yeah.
from this one race
Yeah.
and just my whole journey of just running. So I did come back, and when I took running seriously, it made a difference to learn the necessary things to get your body in good shape and your mental health in good shape, and for you to believe in yourself to get you through there. And then even if you have medical conditions that I thought had limited myself, first the diabetes, I learned to adjust running according to it. So in the summer, I don't push myself running outdoor. I'm on the treadmill. If I do run outdoor, no longer than an hour, or I know that my blood glucose will go over that critical area. So I learned that. And then friends that know me won't push me. You know, like if why can't you run outdoors? It's heat training, get heat acclimated. Well, I'm diabetic, I have medical conditions. I'm not going to stress, double stress myself out. Yes, so, but I'm not giving up. So I'm not giving up because I'm diabetic. And then anemia. That really got me mental as well, because I thought something was wrong with me. I didn't care to run anymore. But after I slowly got my body better, getting my levels back up to where it is, I didn't have that mental block anymore. I felt better breathing. I enjoy running, and then I slowly got back into it. But if I didn't get the help I needed, medical-wise, I don't think I'll be here. I don't think I would talk about any story. I don't think I would ever get to learn what a real training plan is, or what I need to do to succeed, kind of thing. And meet the people that I've met all last year. The run community itself, just very inspiring.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
running brought you like close to the running community, got you healthier actually, because you wouldn't actually have known about your anemia if it wasn't for that kind of, in a way.
It's kind of like a blessing in disguise.
And has it brought your family closer too? I feel like you've inspired your kids to run for sure, right?
Yes,
You're
so
a good
this
example for them.
This is the weird thing. They think it's normal. So whatever you want to expose your kids to and normalize it, you do it early on because they think it's normal. And they don't know their capabilities. So what you do is you just expose them and let them run. If they enjoy it, great. If they don't enjoy it, keep it as a healthy activities. So both of my kids are in cross country. I told them, give it a try the first year, and then after the first year, you make your decision to stay in it or not. So one decides to stay in it because she loves running. She's also on the track team. My son, he's not passionate because he doesn't like to wake up early. He doesn't have that
But he doesn't.
passion.
He's done a half marathon though.
So they've done
both have marathons.
They've done 2 half marathons.
Yeah, that's not easy.
So they're
race to
going to
do.
keep up with the half marathons every year.
Yeah.
They said, and then they'll decide maybe their senior year or maybe after high school they'll do a full marathon, and I'll run it with them.
I love like hearing your journey. It's interesting because like in the beginning, your husband was so worried about your health to prevent you from doing a full marathon, and to now, hey, he was the reason that helped you to be a Boston qualifier pacer and to do it in like, I'm telling you.
It's a year. So coaching, under coaching a year, but after that, I basically reused whatever it was that I learned that year and got my accountability off from the running group. So Mid-County Run Club, I credit Crystal, Kendall, everyone who, Melanie, and then some Houston friends got me through the accountability stage. You need that group. If GTS was closer, I would have gone, to your group. It's just having that local run club group helps.
So like, it's so great that I think people can learn from this. Like, not only that, like, okay, so you are a mother, you have 4 kids, you are dealing with like these medical conditions, and you're a Boston qualifier, and you do these crazy races. So that's an inspiration for people that anyone can, but you need to really put your mind into it. You really need to be motivated and passionate about it. But I love hearing Jennie's story. And we probably could do like 3-4 episodes to hear more about things, because I kind of want to talk about a little more about like her technical journey too. But
she's a lot of other things.
A lot of things.
Her love for gardening, we need to get into. Photography, a lot of other things. But I think that's gonna be it for this episode, right? So, thank you, Jennie, for being part of the Third Bro podcast. we enjoyed having you, and we know you're a big supporter of the Three Bros Running Company as well.
Oh, definitely.
So, I hope you guys enjoy this episode. Well, I'll let Willie finish it up.
Yeah. So, very appreciative that Jennie came here to talk to us, and remember, we're Three Bros Running Company. We're trying to bring big city races to cities across Texas.
Peace.
Thank you, Jennie, for sharing your story with us. We really enjoyed having you on the Third Bro podcast. Make sure to like and subscribe and follow us on whatever podcast channel you're on. And don't forget to sign up for our race, the Nature's Labor Day 5K, happening on September 4th on Labor Day. See you guys at the race.